disadvantage others enormously.
Right.
Yes.
And you see, that's the thing. I'm hoping again in those 20 years that I mentioned that we shall be able to cut through that nonsense, and perhaps we shall have a better leadership procedure, or better transcript, whatever you want to call it, blueprint. We shall have that. Anyway, it is now 13 minutes past 8 o'clock, and our guest has arrived in studio. He is none other than Kasmuel McOure. He's a youth leader within ODM, and I'll just start by asking you, how is your morning?
It's all right. How are you guys?
We're well. We're
good.
Very
lovely show.
Yeah.
Been listening.
And that is a lovely suit, my
Thank
man.
you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Spiffing.
Asante.
I have a question though.
Yes.
I like your hairstyle.
Asante.
Do you go to the barber, man? This is just, you do it in the house?
I go to the barber.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is a man who has a respect for professionals.
Yes.
Yes, you go to the person whose expertise in this particular field is known.
Is why I have to spend the morning with you guys. I would have tweeted.
I once allowed my girlfriend to do my hair.
Right.
Yeah. I had to do all of it now. You can know because things became thick after
You
that.
didn't like the style.
Careful with City's questions. Be careful. You know, City has lived.
It's not like I didn't like the style. I just preferred a different one. Kasmuel, karibu sana. So, ODM, are you still with ODM? I hope we got that right, by the way.
You did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you
did.
How
is it there, been there?
It's okay. I think it's just the normal rigors of a party.
Right.
I enjoy it because it allows you to build a robust thing whose direction I can see.
Right.
Comes with its own challenges, but as does all of life.
Why did you choose ODM? You could have done a myriad of, I think, how many parties are there? About 30 or something?
There's quite a couple.
Yeah. Why did you choose ODM?
Specifically at the time when I was joining, it was the party that was most aligned towards the direction that I was looking for. Remember, there's been a seismic political shift in the country, but as of October 2024, it was the only party that was actually structured that for me seemed like it would lead me to the end that I was pursuing, having come from the streets.
Which end is this, if you can just outline?
I usually feel like these things have been said, and at the risk of sounding cliche of talking points, the main aim of why we went to the streets was to agitate for change in governance, in accountability, and just well-being of the people. Then if you extrapolate those, you can find cases of police brutality, the issues of devolution, the issues
corruption,
of auditing public debt, corruption, as you've said, education, and those kinds of things. And these things are seldom achieved outside the administration of state.
Right.
So the people who are in the best position to bring about these changes are the people who are currently administering state. And so ODM still seems to me like the vehicle that would lead me to an end that would allow me to impactfully contribute to these things that I'm speaking about. And it might lead to parliament.
Right.
If we are well planned, if things go the way they are, we could administer state and could be held accountable in that side.
Right.
But then also the other side is thinking just ideologically, which a lot of people might argue that there's not much. There are far right parties, but then this one is very well in the center of like
smack in the middle.
Yes, social democracy. It's left. It's center left, but towards the left. And I also had led an organization that had close to 60 parties, even some of the smaller parties.
You had led an organization?
Yes, there was a thing we had which was called the National Committee of People's Assemblies. And it had civil societies and it had some political parties within. So I looked at those. I actually wanted to join some of those, but then I saw that at the time, our visions were just not aligned.
Right.
So that's why I went to the Orange Democratic Movement.
Okay. Yeah. There's a time we saw you and Morara.
Yes.
You had, it's like you were having consultations with some political heavyweights.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
I think the conversation I was having with Morara was around the thing that we cannot be too young to lead. I do not see why it should be of much consequence for us as young people to meet, but Rigathi Gachagua can meet whoever he wants to meet. He could meet Martha Karua, he could meet the president, heck. Kalonzo Musyoka could meet anyone. Martha Karua can meet anyone. My party leader Raila Odinga can meet anyone. William Ruto can meet anyone. To very little consequence. But what is this thing? Because I have not been elected, I have not stolen from public coffers, I have not killed anybody. But some of the people I'm being told to emulate have done all those things.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, because I wanted us to demystify that. And I remember telling Morara at some point that the things that are happening to me are going to happen to you. And so...
I think Morara quit, eh?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
But again, it's heavy. As a young person, how do you navigate that? Who do you go to help you
for guidance,
learn the ropes of how Kenyan politics works?
Right.
Because it's very different from how we present it ideologically on the way we write, but it's also very different from when we meet regular people.
Right.
Because again, there's also various classes. Maybe your appeal is to a very niche group within the middle class. Then what happens when you're seen as a figure there, and now you have to meet people who are of different classes?
Right.
So that's the
balancing
it's
act.
the balance, and it's tough. It's tough on the person, because consistently you have to wake up to insults, you have to wake up to, and sometimes you ask yourself, what is to what benefit?
But then let me ask you about your mental health as far as that is concerned. A lot of hate coming through online. I saw at one point when you were in the States, you posted that video, you were playing a piano somewhere, and people really, actually I didn't see a single, maybe they were there, I don't know, but I didn't see, out of the hundreds, probably thousands of comments I saw, I didn't see a single positive one. You know, where are you as far as your mental health is concerned?
I mean, that's just that you cannot control what people say online. You cannot it's not that you get used to it, but it becomes like the humming of a AC or something.
So you get used to it.
It's not particularly getting used to it.
You learn to tolerate it.
Yes, you tolerate it. It somehow becomes part of the furniture.
Yeah.
But then again, it's a lot of the. It's very different when you interact with people. That's why I'm saying the political space is a very confusing one, because when I go to the grounds, wherever I meet people for politics, I do not encounter hatred. So it's a difficult balancing act. But then again, as are the rigors of being a man.
Yeah.
But why the hatred? Because from what you're saying, I do not live very well with social media, as in I interact with it, but not as much as many people do.
WhatsApp sikuonangi.
No, I am on WhatsApp. Yes, I just the flurry with which people like to comment. I am yet to learn.
Right.
I'm yet to acquire the skill. I haven't yet.
Okay.
I send greetings, things like that. You know, find out how people are doing. That I'm able to do.
Then full stop.
Yeah. Well, it serves my purpose. Yeah. And then I'm in this. I get involved in some funeral groups.
Yes.
So I'm not uninvolved.
Right.
My question is the hatred that the two of you seem to speak of. It manifested itself, I presume, in the words that people uttered.
Yes.
So there's a term that keeps coming up when we discuss Kenya and how young people respond. People are angry, they're disappointed.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what are they angry and disappointed about?
Basically the material conditions, because it's a difficult time, and more people have smartphones in our generation, and people are just looking at this and saying people are just tired of having a little class of people get away with anything all the time that they want. And so there's that anger, but specifically towards me, there's a lot of talk about betrayal and that kind of conversation.
I want to understand this, because you exercise your ability to choose and to decide what you want to do.
Right.
So where does the betrayal come in?
So that's a question that has been lingering, but then you also have to trust the people to be their own liberators. Because I was dealt a rather interesting hand. When we were on the streets last year, I was very specific. We were very specific that we had the three things. When people used to call us less. We used to be tribeless, said we're fearless, we're partyless, because we felt like the tribes for far too long have been used to galvanize along ethnic lines to no added benefit. We said we were partyless because we felt like the parties at the time were not agitating for our needs.
Leaderless.
We were leaderless because it felt as though leaders can be compromised. And very carefully, even when the media tried to craft a narrative that I was a leader, I consistently kept on saying, I'm not a leader of this thing. I'm just playing my part. Just the same way there's a person who...
But you are one of the most outspoken individuals.
Yes, but that's just what it is. I have never once claimed that I was a leader. But then it got to a point when the people now started saying that we needed to we need now to get political power.
Right.
But then I looked at it and said, at the time, there was no party. There was no party that seemed like it would agitate towards a direction. And remember, when I went to the streets, I had a focus before I got distracted with all the noise. It was reject the finance bill.
Right.
So I asked myself, which party has aligned itself with those goals? So if I'm looking at, I'm consuming data, where do the people who voted no come from consistently? Because remember, these ODM people, they were mocked. Because remember, they were beaten a week before we protested. And the deputy president really spit fire. And so I looked at it and I said...
The DP then regarded...
Yes, the then deputy president was like, tutanyorosha hii watu hakuna mambo wanafanya kazi yao tu ni kuharibu.
Sufuria revolution.
Yes. Yes. So yes, wakasema hii watu ya kuvaa masufuria kufanya nini ya njaa wanaharibu nini. And then I chose to get into ODM.
Right.
But before I get into ODM, there's this thing which people do not see is, if we say we are leaderless, and there is one person who consistently has, I never claimed that I was a leader. The people who came here and called themselves Gen Z president, they came and said they are the leaders of the revolution. I've never claimed that title. I just said I'm just one individual playing a very simple role. And I played that role. But enter individuals, certain individuals, for example, you even give them money and you tell them, no, this is the mandate we are giving you. You go and form for us a political party. We want you to run. Yes. Then me, after coming from the streets, you want me to join a thing which I do not understand, because when we were in the trenches, that was not fashionable. Then these people who I was with were just busy writing grants. That's why I was saying I had the opportunity to join very many fringe parties.
Right.
Then we get to this other side, then there's a lack of accountability, and Kenyans are sending money, and I said, no, I cannot join that. I also want to learn, because now from the media, you are learning under CT.
Right.
Yes. The only reason I would come, for example, to Radio Generation is because CT is a host. Then I can see, okay, now it means that this is reputable.
Right.
But what is that for politics? Yes.
Okay.
What is a political equivalent? Because then now that happens, and I keep on saying, then if we were truly leaderless, if I truly was of no consequence, because people have told me I was of no consequence, and this term I used to even be called an NIS agent as early as June 27th, 2024. So this is not new talk.
Like literally 2 days into this.
2 days after storming parliament, I was called an NIS agent.
Okay.
Yes. Then I come back and just from the 18th. So this is not a new thing. There's the anger that comes from, I do not know where it comes from, but for me, I just said at some point, I have to stop doing what is popular and do what is right.
Okay.
Do I hear you to be saying that all the lessons that the Gen Z claimed to be, they were actually not?
They clearly were not, and I can give very clear examples. We said that we were tribeless. Do you know there's no other person whose tribe was as contested as mine in that revolution? People said I'm a Maasai, I'm a Kisi, and I didn't care. Actually, part of what I did was feed into that, because I never wanted people to know what tribe I came from. I refused to take interviews from my vernacular radio station.
Yeah.
And I went to the polar opposite. Yes.
Can you speak vernacular though?
Yes, I can. Quite well. And I said all these things, so we were tribeless. Then the moment, I don't know how that came out. I think someone asked me a question somewhere and I slipped and I answered, and they figured out this Jama is a Jang. And I was like, but I didn't think much into it.
Yeah.
When we said we were partyless, I kept on wondering that it was okay. We were saying, down the political class, But now let us analyze the recent going on. Let me paint that really neat picture.
Sure.
I joined Orange Democratic Movement, whose party leader is Raila Odinga. There's furor. I never rest for it. But when other people join Rigathi Gachagua, they are hailed as revolutionaries.
Yeah.
To date, some of the people who are criticizing, they have people who are the biggest influencers who said down with this political class. They came and said, us now, you know what, we're joining Rigathi so that we can vie for senatorial positions in some way. We can vie for these things.
Right.
They are hailed. Somebody else. So I was wondering, why is it that in a democratic country, in a democratic space,
right, in
a leaderless space, because if it were leaderless, I should be of no consequence. How many people do you know who are eloquent? It's very many. You could have an eloquent person every hour on the hour. How many people do you know who wear suits?
Very many.
Yes. So why is it that I am of such?
Perhaps do you think if you had joined, say, DCP,
Right.
or Wiper
Yeah.
for that matter,
Yeah.
or Martha Karua's party. I'm
Yeah.
forgetting the name.
Yes, PLP.
Yes, PLP. Do you think perhaps you'd still be getting this kind of backlash? Because perhaps the reason why people are attacking Kasmuel and hating on him is not necessarily they hate Kasmuel, but they hate the fact that you've joined this outfit that is ODM after they had told Raila Amolo Odinga, wewe kaa kando, unajua kaa kando, we'll do this, right? And to make matters worse, not only did he not kaa kando, but he went ahead to form a broad-based government with President Ruto. So do you think that perhaps that is the reason? Because they took this thing and they wakaanza kumuita msaliti, amesaliti Gen Z, alafu yule Gen Z walikuwa wanaangalia maybe atawasaidia, that Gen Z went and joined and joined Raila. So by extension, you are in the broad-based government that these young people are hating on and trying to distance themselves from.
You know, the Swahili say mgala muwe na haki yake umpe. I think we're being very unfair to Mzee in this regard, because when you told him to stay home, he actually did stay home. He has never tried to, if you just think about the political class, he has never tried to co-opt this Gen Z movement. He has never tried to say, oh, now Gen Z, I urge you to cool down. Like some people who are saying, now Gen Zs, you've been listened to, please cool down. He has not tried to go and light candles along Parliament Road on 25th of June because he was not on the streets.
Yeah.
The only other time you see him speak up,
he was actually telling us to go to Kamkunji.
that was on 7th,
Right.
which is Sabasaba. Sabasaba was their struggle. So he has every right to speak about Sabasaba.
Right.
You didn't see him speak about 25th. You have not seen him do anything around. That I have to give him full credit for. He has not tried to own or co-opt or use optics or position himself. Or he of course, he sends lawyers to court to help us, but he does not show his hand directly like these other politicians. When you, to your question, if I had joined these other parties, if I would still be getting the same hate. But why would I join parties which I know are going nowhere?
No, but I'm just saying, let's forget the
Yes,
whole...
because people joined.
Yes.
I think the answer is rather straightforward. I was getting this hate, but not to the degree that I am getting it now. Because it still was there. Like I told you, I started getting these problems on 27th of June 2024. But there's a dishonesty to this whole exercise, because I keep asking that if we're saying that we are draining the swamp and Raila Odinga, let us say, is this a really bad person, then we must look at who are his peers, who are his political peers. They must be very bad people, because then I have to pull out a record and ask, I need to see your corruption cases. I need to see the role that you played in the conflict that we had in 2007, 2008. I need to see what you did, what you've done consistently through history. You cannot tell me that now I'll demonize one. I looked at the thing and said that, in all honesty, even if I were to just be very simple about it, for me it's a pursuit of excellence. I'm not in this thing for a joke, because I mobilized in a popular senator's office, and I saw how things were being done there, and I said, if this is political organization, we will find ourselves in a worse situation. So for me, it's jumping the gun and saying, I have this rare advantage of learning. This is a political science course.
Right.
No one who's studying political science right now has the lessons and insights that I have on politics and how it works. This man is a master of grassroots mobilization.
Right.
That's the thing which I want to learn, because it's the one weakness I had. I know how to speak in interviews. I can speak very well, but you're given a microphone in front of 10,000 people. That's a different ballgame. There's one time I was given a microphone like this, and I couldn't even face the people. I kept on talking like this and saying, vijana wanataka hivi, wanataka hivi, na vijana wako mbele yangu. Where else do you get that opportunity?
Okay.
Yes.
So also there are rumors, nuances that kuna kitu lipokea.
Right.
In terms of money, someone paid you to either join ODM so that they can buy you into government. Now broad-based government. Is that true?
But then why has ODM stopped paying people then?
Come again?
If that is their strategy, why have they stopped paying people? Because they should be buying more.
But right now, we don't have as outspoken people in the Gen Z movement as we had yourself, Morara. I'm actually forgetting the rest, because you two are the most prominent.
Right.
Yeah. So you know, the voice that you would have given to this partyless, leaderless movement is no longer there, because now you have a party leader, and you have a you have a tribe that you associate with, and you have what was the other one? You have a party leader. You get what I mean?
Yes.
So now what they were agitating for, you've become the direct opposite of it.
But now we have to use a razor. It's not particularly Occam's, but we have to use it and ask: have the things I was saying then, have they changed? Yes. That's the one measure, because if it's about the things I was saying, it was never about the things I was doing. It really was about the things I was saying. Has my stance on corruption softened? Has my stance on tribalism softened? Has my stance? No, it hasn't. Yes. So that's why, for me, I don't. That's part of the things that helps me to silence this disillusionment. Is that as long as I am very clear about these things and I'm looking at it, because right now we are talking about this whole dialogue thing, and I'm a firm proponent of it, because coming here is a form of dialogue. This thing is just me. If I want to be popular, I can do it very easily. All I need to do right now is just come to a radio station or wherever. I could go to my social media and start fighting Ruto and start saying one term. That is I'll regain the favor of the people.
Right.
But quite literally, what is that? It's agitation. It's the same reason I went to the street, because we want to be listened to. And now the thing that a revolution in definition and it's supposed to be a rapid, successful and significant transformation. Let me just read this. A rapid, successful and significant transformation of at least one institutional structure of a society, and an exchange of fundamental beliefs or values of a society as a result of a popular uprising utilizing non-institutionalized means. If it is not successful, it is not a revolution. If we do not have these changes, it is not a revolution. If we are doing this thing that people are trying to call a ballot revolution, that even I called it, it is not a revolution, because a ballot is institutionalized.
Right.
I'm just trying to think, how do we achieve this change? Because we've seen the non-institutionalized methods are leading only to more deaths.
Yeah.
I was in the United States and I saw what happened on the 25th of June and my heart broke. One, I just hate the idea that I got onto a space, and the thing that pricked my conscience the most, the same people who we were on that space with last year. So none of us have died. But the only thing is, now you're calling Kasmuel a traitor because he's in ODM, but you're also alive. And the only significant work you're doing is amplifying. So how long are we going to amplify? Who will account for the lives of the people who died on 25th? Who took them to the streets?
And on Sabasaba as well.
And on Sabasaba. No, I'll even get to Sabasaba. But let's say on 25th and on Sabasaba. Who took people to the streets? We can't. But the thing about the Sufuria revolution,
right,
we can directly say that this one, it was Raila Odinga. Has he made any strides towards trying to get reparations for those people? Absolutely. That thing just bothers me, where we will take children of the working poor consistently to their untimely deaths and say, Apana, now this is what is happening. And now I keep on saying that we lacked some political goodwill. The reason why I'm even saying about this thing about why we should take advantage of Raila's political goodwill is he is a man that we know will not be shot by the Inspector General of Police. He will not. He will not be shot by a policeman. At least not now. This government is hinged upon his shoulders, and no offense to what arrangement that is, the broad-based arrangement truly rests on Raila Odinga's shoulders. So we know the state will not shoot him. Now we have a critical mass of the youth who are, they are ready for action.
Right.
But the thing that's hindering the youth from converting this, from consolidating political gains, is Kenya is a very politically dynamic country.
Right.
That you snooze like this, the political landscape has shifted. So people are now shifting it and saying it's it's Wamunyoro, now it's what we know it's not. Now I'm saying, think about the critical mass of the youth and the political goodwill that Raila Amolo Odinga has.
I want to ask Siti Muga something, because I see he has, smiled upon a certain statement. Siti, I need your voice on this. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking of how it is that the unfortunate changes that the Kenyan society has demanded over time has always led in deaths. I said this yesterday, I'm repeating it now. From the time of the Mau Mau, who were in the forest, and the younger people who are agitating constantly, whether it is people who had been in the unions, people forget that they were young. They were older people. Jomo Kenyatta was an older person. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was an older person. Not really that old at that point in time. But the majority of the people we're talking about were young.
Yes.
They were also the people who were then among those who were well educated. So they could articulate these problems. People died. Even when we got independence, people died. And the deaths were often related to people who were then protesting against what the government had done or what they had agreed they should do and were not doing. People died. The second revolution was the same. People hear of Nyati House, they don't know. The number of young people who died were very many. Some again disappeared. It's not as though they started disappearing now. They disappeared then. In the Kibaki era that we praise for the economic development, people also died. In the Uhuru era, the Raila now became a cemetery. This government seems to have picked up. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, when people die, and they die because they've been killed by people who are supposed to secure their security, what am I seeing? This is what was bothering me. What am I seeing? And I have certain options with regards to what I am seeing. I am seeing that this government is not as unified as it seems.
Okay.
There are many moving parts. Because I do not see how the president would benefit from the death of one person. Yes. I don't see. It's to his disadvantage.
Yes.
It's to his enormous disadvantage. So who is it who thinks that by killing a young person, somehow you are helping? What exactly are you helping? Or is it deliberate? They know full well that it will not help, but it will tarnish the name of the president. These are things that are going through my mind. Because it defies logic. You had this movement that was so peaceful. The UN sent a rapporteur who deals with youth affairs to come to the country to study this. They had not seen. It was that momentous. It got infiltrated, it turned. The course that it had taken somehow got derailed. Courses don't get derailed, people derail them. So who derailed it and why were they derailing it? You see, the politics of this country is very multi-layered. Very, very multi-layered. And when you hear something, you must always ask the question, who is actually saying it and why are they saying it? The issue of Raila going home has been spoken of on many occasions. Aende Bondo, asiongee, asifanye nini. Because of the freedoms we have, people are allowed to say what they think. But the truth of the matter is this. This gentleman called Raila didn't get to where he is in a day. We also like to put aside history and not look at it with the clarity we should. If you look at the path that very many of these political leaders have followed, you will understand why they are where they are. And I'm saying all.
Okay.
For instance, Martha Karua represents the idea that the country is not ready for a woman president. And neither are they ready for somebody who is strong on governance. They are not ready.
You mean they being Kenyans?
Yes, they are not ready. Because Martha Karua represents these things. This is someone who was voted in consistently. If you know the person she defeated, for that in Gishugu, the person had been head of the civil service. That's the person Martha Karua defeated and continued being the MP until she decided to vie for a different seat. Her track record is clear. In 2007, there were issues about the election and people found fault with her participation. But let's be fair, who wasn't rooting for their side? With vigor and energy. She was rooting for her side. It's what people do. But how many people do you know of who resign from a position of authority on principle? With people they have worked with. I'm simply saying there are things in this country that you must understand with the correct perspective.
Okay.
We are now jostling for 2027. And the jostling is what is producing all these things that you hear. I mentioned in an earlier time, there are people who are in positions of authority like the IG who is set to retire. That will bring movement. The succession issue will come into being. There are governments within governments. There are kitchen cabinets within kitchen cabinets. My take, all is not well. And the story of the Ministry of Education that we read in the Standard personifies this thing and exemplifies it, that the infighting that is taking place even within this government,
Right.
it is a lot more than we realize. And what that means is this particular president finds himself in the same position that his predecessor was in. You have a government that you actually can't manage as well as you'd like to. Yes, that's why you need help.
So, Kasmuel, if I can just ask you the question that we put on the poster that we shared with you, then are the youth ready to lead in this country or to lead this country?
I think yes and yes. However, youth should not be a qualification for leadership, because it's part of those, it's just one of the narratives. Just the same way there's an MP who became an MP because he's a total orphan. There's people who are just, youth is just youth. I think leadership should be taken by people who have shown expertise and a willingness to invest in the betterment and the welfare of the society.
Right.
Going by what's happening, I think the youth.
How do you measure that? How do you measure the interest that somebody has in the welfare of the people of the country he lives in the society? How do you measure?
I think that's a very interesting question, because we have not yet developed intricate metrics for that. But there are certain institutions to which, if you employ yourself diligently, we could at least see. Like, for example, there's people who've done stupendous work in civil rights movements. Does not necessarily translate to political acumen, but I can say that this person has defended human rights. That's why, for example, political parties exist, because political parties allow us to organize at grassroots levels. If I can interact well with people at the grassroots level, and if we can have their trust, because elections happen in a quinquennium, in like a 5-year cycle, if before the fifth year, just between this, if I can interact well with the people, if we can show that we can help them, for example, with the environment, we can work on climate justice, we can work on police brutality and those kinds of things. If we can just public interest, I think those are some of the metrics I personally would use. We still haven't gotten to the point where we can say extensively the way you can do KPIs for people.
Right.
But that quandary, and I think that's something which I would like to ponder on.
Because if you look at it's something that we've inherited over time. Leadership has often been judged by what the projects that you've helped initiate, the people you've helped, what you've been able to do. And the doing has to do with what people feel they need. That has often been, that's why there are the Harambes and what have you. That's why people bother to do these things. That is what we have used. Even now when we measure good leadership, we talk about Kivutha Kibwana. It's what he did. He got this money, healthcare, education, but the thing that stands out, his ability to embrace public participation, literally.
That's actually it.
Literally. Meaning, the man was willing to be accountable to the people who elected him directly.
All right. So again, you are in the process of answering that question that I asked earlier on. The youth ready, and how do they do it? Because they are still on that vibe of partyless, leaderless, and the other lesses. I'm forgetting them.
But they still are. I think even in that, they still are doing it. I think
are they a cohesive group?
Because they want a complete, from what I understand. They need they're fighting for a complete overhaul of leadership. So that means all the way from the president down to the probably lowest civil servant.
And what will that change?
Because that's the other thing. To answer Citi's question, in terms of cohesion, I don't necessarily think the goal is oneness. It's unity. So if there's a unified purpose, because I could be fighting the same.
And is the purpose unified? This is really the question.
I think that really is. Right now, there's still no clarity around that, because people have narrowed it down to saying Ruto must go. But let us assume that we have Ondeto, let's say Christ, as president, and he has a weak parliament. What in the democracy, the kind of democracy that we run, what can he do?
But the parliament isn't weak.
But that's what I'm saying. If he has a parliament that is not as principled, because we want to replace, we are saying the president is a problem, replace the top man. Yeah. What can the top man do?
Well,
replace him with the MPs.
This parliament does have principles.
It does, just maybe the ones we are not in line with.
Not only that.
Yes.
There are ones we'd rather they didn't have.
Right.
Yes. Because when your principle is that you're ready to be bought.
Yes.
Okay. It is a principle.
But the members of parliament,
I agree with him. The principles that we're not aligned with those kinds of principles.
We would rather they didn't have them. But if you think about it, even if you get a good president, the members of parliament do not elect themselves. Whatever member of parliament you see in Bunge right now is a clear reflection of who you are. Then someone will tell you, but I did not vote. But that's exactly it. You're even worse than the person who went and voted in a bad person, because you're apathetic. You're one of the people who thinks politics does not affect me. Yes, because if I do it, nothing is going to change.
Kasmuel, don't you think we overthink and we overstate these so-called anticipated qualities that a leader must have?
Such as?
And yet, no, he must be somebody who has the interest of the people at heart.
But that's exactly what we expect him to have.
Yes, we do. We do. But if we're to have an honest conversation, the expectations that we have are supposed to be exercised in an ecosystem that we, the voter, don't fully understand.
Right.
So our expectations are flawed. And because they are flawed, we do not see what our role is.
Yes.
The person we elect will adhere to what we expect them to do when we hold them to account.
Yes.
Not we elect them and then
we sit back and wait for them to
move. Because they know they'll not be held to account, it is easy for them to be sidetracked and to do all the things that we hate.
That is why then we start from the very beginning. We get it right by electing proper individuals, so that we can hold them to account.
We elect good individuals with every electoral cycle, believe me. All these, when they're elected.
Yes.
But
they are elected because people want them to actually take those jobs.
And we the ones who are told, you clearly saw this person is a thief. You clearly knew this person is a murderer. You clearly...
The communities who elect thieves know why they elect thieves.
Yes.
Hold on. So you clearly knew your MP is a thug. You clearly knew your MP is whatever. Exactly. Then you still went ahead and voted for him. So whenever you're seeing him on social media, instead of helping legislate, he's always smoking bang. Don't be shocked.
But the vast majority of MPs don't fall into that category.
Right.
But I'm just saying there are some.
It's the outspoken few.
Yes.
Even if you think about it, not all the MPs. I agree, and I tend to agree with CT. But the vast majority of them are people within reason, or elected because they had the unfair advantage of being known over these other people. Not all of them are murderers. Not all of them are thieves. Not all of them are all these things. Some of them are structural, and that's why we're like, institutional strengthening should come before, such that even a bad man would find it so hard to do those things which you think are bad within those systems.
Right.
But then how then do we ensure that the systems work? Because we've already done the elections, we've done all these kinds of things. The only time we've had any progressive, meaningful change is when the country has spoken to itself. And people might want to make it look like we've had dialogues ad perpetuum. We haven't. We've only had one national dialogue. And it's the dialogue that gave us that came out of not NADCO
10-point agenda.
No. That is
the Constitution.
Yes, gave us a 2010 Constitution and gave us that Grand Coalition government. That is the one dialogue. And people usually say we've had the Waki report, we've had the TJRC, we've had all these kinds of reports. The reason why those I think were not implemented and they still continue to gather the dust is they did not have the backing of a political goodwill. I think we're on the precipice where we have this thing where we can have another 2010 moment where we have this very beautiful constitution, but it is not being implemented.
It's actually being eroded.
Yes. So we're not here, for example, when we say we want to have a dialogue to look for a position for Raila Odinga. What position does he need now? Yes.
We actually don't know.
Yes, no, but that's I'm telling you this as a person who spends a lot of time with him, that so you want to make him prime minister in Ruto's regime? To what benefit? He does not need any of that baggage. The reason why, for me, and I'll keep on pushing for this dialogue thing, is it allows us we have a critical mass and we have political goodwill from the most influential political player. This now allows us to even say, even if we want to invoke Article 1 and say that here, the outcomes of this is we the people have decided that the whole parliament must go home, then we can achieve a revolution.
Right.
If we say then the president has to go home, we can achieve a revolution. But then, again, for me, that's part of what I'm thinking in the extreme sense. We can find very easy gains. Why are killer cops whose cases have dragged for over a year still walking the streets? So I still want to insult the president, but I could say my irreducible minimums are: I want these police cases expedited in 60 days. I want policemen to have body cams and they will not be contracted through this particular ministry because there's hemorrhage here. I want just this just the basic upholding of our freedoms, which are things the Constitution already enshrines but are not being put into action. But two, it allows a chance, especially even if you think about it, the women. I've been seeing the way distinguished members of parliament are being paraded in rallies, being told, our old doctor is being told now, DJ, put some music for her so that she can dance and show her derriere
use the
to
right
the
word.
public.
She can twerk.
She can twerk, yes.
Right.
I wasn't sure I was allowed, but this is very generation. So that she can show her dabs to the public. That's the thing. Coming here allows you to bring your finest minds and say, here, City, I disagree with you. Here, I disagree with you, Kasmuel, because I think this is what you're doing wrong. What we're having here is a dialogue. Me saying that I do not want to come here will not, City can gain no insights in what it is that I am thinking. Because how many things does he have to go through? Now think about it at a presidential level. I'm just thinking that we have to sit down and just put all selfish interests aside. I look at this and say, why then do I need to do all this hard work? To what benefit do I have? Because I have already met the man that is Raila. He's a good man and he's my friend.
I have no doubt.
Yes, no, I could go and tell him that now, Baba, you see me, this thing, for me is very difficult. Now what I want to do, I want to go to a different country and do all these kinds of things. He can make that happen.
You're the first youth I think we've interviewed in a very long time. There's this situation that not president but Raila said, intergenerational conclave.
Yes.
I don't know what was he thinking about when he said those things, and how is that conclave going to be held? So
he's also specified how he wants that to happen, because that intergenerational conclave is a dialogue process. And personally, I'm all for it, and I'm campaigning for it, part for this reason.
Right.
So he says that it needs to comprise of representatives from all 47 counties. They organize at grassroots levels, but 50% of the people who are participating must be the youth, and 50% people who are
other generations.
Yes, going up. And we need to sit down, come up with resolutions, and then now we bring it, we make it into a national process. What that does, it allows a person who's in Marsabit, who doesn't have the access to come here, to also have a voice in their country, in their county, because then now we can have all these opinions and bring them into a melting pot. What that also helps us to do is push, because you cannot push the president as an individual. But there are certain forces where the most organized forces can push certain policy areas. That's why you see there's development going towards certain areas in a bid to woo them, in a bid to keep these people at peace.
Yes.
I think this is a rare opportunity for us to involve the church, to involve the women, to involve the young people, to involve the people who actually create jobs, because government does not do that.
Yeah.
It is the private sector and the people who own and leaders of industry. We can sit down with all these, instead of talking at each other, instead of me bashing your company or bashing Safaricom, we can now say, no, this is how we want you to invest in this
How
thing.
will we determine who among these various groups and sectors come for this gathering?
But City, how did we determine the people who would go to the streets last year?
No, it's not the streets I'm speaking of.
Yes.
The streets, people willingly go.
Yes.
There's a reason why they go. They feel
they
want to, the unity you speak of.
Yes.
They're going to the streets is them identifying with what the issue is.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Last year, that's what you people, as in you people being you,
I understand.
Gen Z, did.
Yes.
Because there was that unity.
Yes.
All that is good.
Yes.
And we actually saw the president making not just verbal changes, he actually made structural changes which he later went back on.
Right.
Okay,
but they were made.
Oh, we saw.
Yes.
So you see that needle moved and it can't move backward. We've seen it.
Yes.
Right? President Uhuru introduced something called Maisha number.
Yes.
People kicked a monumental
yes.
fuss.
Yes.
that thing,
Yes.
they went back
They
on
rolled
it.
back on it.
It means that the government and those in the executive do listen.
Yes.
How then do we ensure that they listen continuously?
But this is the thing which it's a very simple answer right now. You're in the jungle,
Yeah.
and you're telling me that he must listen, and then I ask you how, and then you tell me no, he just must listen. We have a constitution, and then you ask me how, and I tell you, I know a man who makes this person listen. And his name is Raila Odinga. As unpopular as you want to make it look like, any time Raila Odinga has agitated in this country, governments have listened.
Okay.
Now we have a critical mass and we have his political goodwill.
All right.
Then we are still asking, how do we make them listen? Even the determination of this thing, he has said that he's not even trying to lead the process. Let us organize ourselves and then we present this. Personally, I'm saying the same way I left that bed sitter of mine. Okay, that's figurative. Same way I left my house last year under no one's instructions. As a young man who was just known as a musician and went to the streets and did all these strides, it's the same way we'll start. I'll start small and then I'll meet 2 people and then we will galvanize that and then we'll form a critical mass that will lead the national
Let's
process.
just say that when we have a concrete, proper formula for having that conclave, perhaps we shall be told, right?
No. We will go forward. It doesn't need a concrete formula. Mimi nimeanza. This conversation that we are doing here,
It's
there's
already a
someone who will
conclave.
listen,
Yes.
and they will say, hey, Kasmuel, what was that thing about? And I'll be like, oh, this is what it's about.
So, Kasmuel, 2027, are you vying for anything?
I think it's, especially in the position I am right now, it's such a difficult
What
question to
position are
answer.
you in right now?
I'm just in the party. I'm a servant of the party. I'm one of the leaders in the youth league.
What exactly are you leading
We're in an election period, so I'm vying for something.
within the party?
Yes, within the party.
Within the party?
Yes.
What
Because
about
we have a
nationally?
national dialogue. We have a national delegates convention in October, and ODM is also turning 20. So we are in August, September, and October. So that's in October.
Right.
Then now I will give you a definite answer. Kama nitakuwa nimeshindwa ama nitakuwa nimeshinda. But that's basically where we are.
But unajua say ground ni moto, eh?
Kwa nani?
Sai ni moto.
Eh.
Sai ni moto.
Kwa nani?
Ground ni moto. Wewe jua tu ground ni moto.
Mimi nimekuwa kwa hiyo ground. Sasa unajua like ukiniambia ground I keep on wondering what this ground is because hizo kura kwani nazitafuta wapi?
Okay.
Mimi niko kwa hiyo ground.
ground.
Yes, and I'm there na mimi nakwambia hiyo ground moto bado sijapatana nayo.
All right,
Yes,
Sasa.
yes.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you very much for having me,
unfortunately, man, that's the only time we have.
Yeah.
But you're welcome again.
Asante.
Come here. Let's and specifically on this dialogue issue.
That one I'm happy to give you. I just could not rush through it, but I have a very elaborate plan.
Because I'm also for a way forward.
Yes.
Dialogue or otherwise.
Yes.
I'm for a way forward. Right? Because I don't want to see people in the streets every single day dying. Our cars being pelted with stones.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way.
But what's the other option? You want to tell me now that we go on with this ethnic jingoism that is
No, of
going
course
on?
not.
That's the
Of
other
course
thing
not.
I'm asking.
That's what I'm saying.
Are we supposed to now
I am
take the
for a way
people
forward.
to the streets to just keep dying so that we can amplify and I'm called a hero?
Yeah.
My work is just the revolutionary of this day. Their work is to open a pay bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and send 1 million to a family and drape a coffin and flags and chant down with Ruto and bury dreams of people. While I'm telling you in this dialogue, you will not get shot.
Yeah.
Come to this table. If it fails, then we can go back to the streets. Have we not shown that we can go to the streets?
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
coming
sir.
through. This is where we come to a close as far as this conversation is concerned. However, in the next hour, we're going to be having Mwikali, Redemptor Mwikali actually. She's going to be here again to talk about the Shakahola issue. So don't go too far. We'll be right back.